But once you get in the room and once you sort of change their
Yeah.
minds,
And you have a seat at the table. To
and
like,
yes,
yeah.
and you have a seat at the table, which
Yeah.
is the most important thing. And it doesn't have to be like a big plushy lazy boy seat at the table. It
Yeah.
could just be that you're there and people are listening to you, or you're asking questions and you engage. And once they figure out, oh, this is a part of who you are, and then that starts to change minds.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marianna Sotomayor, congressional reporter with The Washington Post. Welcome to Washington Post Live. I'm actually going to be taking off my political hat today to help kick off Hispanic Heritage Month for Post Live. And there's no one better to help get us started to talk about just the differences, the unique things that make up our community, and how we're impacting an array of different places here in the United States than Gina Torres. She is an actress and producer, and I just want to say I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and I was so excited to be asked to be here and kick off this wonderful tradition to celebrate us.
Yes, well, that's actually the first question I wanted to ask you, is simply, what are your thoughts on Hispanic Heritage Month? Because as you know, some people are very happy that we have a month devoted to just really highlighting the different parts of our culture. We're not all the same. We all have different backgrounds, even though we have so many things that unite us. What is your takeaway of having this month, and kind of like what you hope to see and hope that this month actually like brings out and reminds people about our community?
Well, I'll start off by saying that for me, it's not just a month. For me, it's year round, because I don't stop being me at the end, in mid-October. What is so special and really essential about Hispanic Heritage Month is, more than ever, I will say, we are really in a place to experience and do a deep dive into what Latinidad is, what Hispanic heritage means, and what it encompasses. We are so very diverse, and we're seeing the Afro-Latino community really come out and express their beauty in the first time in my lifetime where we have such a voice and we are being recognized in such a different way. And that, for me in particular, is exciting.
So I actually want to talk to you about your own experience. You mentioned how you have been in this career for a long time, have very much reached a lot of success, and in part, those kinds of things that people would tell you in the beginning, that you didn't fit the standard of American beauty, whatever that meant at the time, that didn't stop you from becoming an advocate. Tell me a little bit about just how you felt when you were getting rejected just because of what you looked like, and the feeling of being misunderstood, and why you didn't let that get you down, but instead used it to your advantage to really just advocate for a lot of us in the community.
All right. Well, the thing about the entertainment industry is that it really is an equal opportunity soul crusher. It doesn't matter where you're from or what you look like. It is really sanctioned prejudice and sanctioned othering in service to creating and perpetuating certain images and ideas and narratives, right? So when you don't fit that mold, then you have to, you can either let your soul be crushed, or you can really just root yourself in what you know you have to give, and choose each moment to make it a learning experience, a teaching moment, which is what I had to do. It wasn't so much about becoming what they expected of me, rather than being who I was, fully who I was. And it didn't happen overnight. I mean, it took me a minute. I just love what I do so much. And I knew I had something to offer in this skin, in this body. And they were just going to have to figure it out.
So, in the intro that we played, you talked about in a different interview how you don't have to have the most plush seat at the table. It really is about just having a seat at the table. Can you tell us how you even got to that table? What advice would you even give to young Latinas acting or starting to pursue acting in this industry?
Right. I'm in my 50s. So there's a place where, you always see sort of this new generation, which is extraordinary. I mean, really, truly, my hat's off, where there is such little um patience for all the things that women of my generation kind of had to keep their heads down and keep moving about, whether it was sexism, whether it was cultural um annihilation, and all the things between. They are so fully themselves, and that is such a lesson to find and have and live in at such an early age. Having said that, it's really important that when you are in the room, that you listen, and that you take in the room, and that you know your audience. It's really important that you know your audience, because what you have to say and what you have to bring has to land. And you have to create an atmosphere where it can land. And you do that through work, you do that through professionalism, you do that through picking your battles, never letting go of what your prize is, right? Of what your goal is, but you want to be able to reach as many people as possible.
So one thing that I found interesting is the fact that in your current role, on the current show 911 Lone Star, you really wanted to make sure that your character, and you've mentioned this a little bit, just
Yeah.
embraced who you are, the realness of who you are. And many people, when they think about Latinas, they don't think about the different backgrounds that we come from, or that we may look differently. Something that you've definitely tried to champion is your Afro-Latina heritage, and you wanted to bring light to that on the show. Can you tell me why you thought it was possible nowadays to convince, whether it was, producers, directors, to let you do that? And if there really is this appetite to just show more diversity on the screen?
Of course there's more appetite. There's a necessity for it. It's not just an appetite. I think it is incumbent upon those of us who have reached this place, um, to really shine a light and really let those in power understand and know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we exist, that we have buying power, that we have um, aspirational power, that we're here and we're doing the world and our country and other countries a grave disservice by not um, showing us in every hue that we come in every state of socioeconomic level, and we are a part of this world, and we have inhabited it forever. We just haven't seen ourselves. And why did I feel it was time and that it was necessary? Is because I'm here, and I've been here for 30 years in this industry, um, hiding in plain sight. And it's exhausting. It is exhausting to continue to explain who and why I am. We shouldn't have to do that at this stage in our evolution, in our history. It's absurd.
Yeah,
And
I
it just speaks to the ignorance in that continues to be perpetuated in how we educate our kids. Um, you know, I can go on and on, but I'm sure you have another question.
No, I was gonna say is I totally hear you on, the needing to explain not just who we are, our culture, our backgrounds, because we are very different and we just don't fit one certain model. I actually wanted to point out there was actually a USC study, and this is maybe my political nerd and numbers, and I like
I love
looking
a
at different
number.
polls, but here we go. A USC study, it actually released last week. It showed that 7% of major films in 2019 featured a lead Hispanic or Latino actor. So that already is a very small percentage. 1/3 of lead actors, when we're talking about representation in roles, they were actually pigeonholed, if you want to describe it that way, as criminals, right?
Mhm.
So I wanted to ask you about not just necessarily what we may look like on screen, but how we're represented on screen and how difficult it can be, or if we are in some ways, kind of shaping the narrative of who we are in not the best way, or in not necessarily an array of what our culture and who we are as people actually represent.
Unfortunately, I think those who are starting out, and this is starting to change as well, whether you have writers, whether you have producers, whether you have directors, you kind of get caught in this terrible cycle of, I want my work to be seen, I have something to give, this is what's out there, or this is what is going to sell. So I'm going to write to that. I'm going to put my energy in that, and then I'll get a foot in the door, and then I'll get to do whatever I want. Um, I get it, because we all need to eat and we all have bills to pay. And getting to that place where then I can do whatever I want to do is um, is real. And we have to sort of make choices along the way. The problem with that is that you keep putting the same stuff out there, the same, because it's going to sell. And my point, or what I have always hoped to do with the work that I put out there, is that humanity sells, and that truth and is what the truth of our being is what people want to see, because we're mirrors. We are mirrors of ourselves, and who better to be mirrors of us, of Latinos, than other Latinos? So put your families on screen, put your stories on screen, put the world that you know on screen. And of course, we all have, different people in our lives, different characters that have come in our lives, for better, for worse. Um, but it's also important to show the humanity in it, the why of why this person is doing time, the why of why this particular neighborhood is in shambles and people make the choices that they make, the why of a success story. It's not two-dimensional. It is multidimensional. And so often you just don't get to dig deeper into the why of our stories. So it's I often said the height of any person of color's acting career is to be able to play a pimp, a hooker, a maid, a drug dealer, an addict, with relish and authenticity, without feeling like you've let your your entire people down, your entire culture down, because you need and want to put those stories and bring a kind of majesty to those characters. And the only way that you can do that is by including the why. is by including the multidimensional um, uh, um, story of how one gets there. I hope that makes sense.
No, it definitely totally understood what you meant.
And I also
Something.
want to play, some rich chick on a yacht. I mean, we all get to do that too, right? I mean,
Yeah, seems fun.
why not?
Yeah, jump into some really nice shoes on a yacht. I can see it. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh, I wanted to ask you too, and part of what you're saying, just not only the actors kind of bringing that humanity to their own roles, seeking out and speaking out about what roles should be out there, how we should be portrayed. It is award season, a different kind of year because of the pandemic. Usually it's earlier this year, but something that came out of the Emmys yesterday was the fact that a lot of people who ended up winning and we're white. There were some people or people of color who did win some awards,
Yeah.
but you still tend to see that lack of diversity when it comes to celebrating achievement in the arts. What are your thoughts about that? Have you seen some changes? Are we going in a right direction, or is it still stalled a little bit?
I think we're definitely moving in the right direction. Part of it's easy to sort of yell and rail at the screen, right? It's like, oh, there should be more of us, and of course, yes, absolutely, 100%, there should be more of us. What part of it is the is those who are voting. I don't want to say that they're a problem, but part of it is sort of like your whole voting pool of people who are of a certain age, of a certain culture, are drawn to watching certain content and really have to be kind of pulled out of the habit of watching similar things um, to really experience something for yourself. And there's so much content out there. I have to say, I haven't watched everything. There's no way that I can watch everything. And so people are drawn to the things that they're drawn to. They're going to continue to be drawn to the things that they're drawn to. Streaming has become so specific um, that it gets harder and harder. I mean, your news. People tune into the things they want to listen to that is
Right.
in direct reflection of themselves. So content and watching content isn't so different, especially when you have so many choices. What really needs to happen is that the voters have to become more diverse. The voters in the academies have to become much more diverse and inclusive. And that's how we get to really see the change.
So
Because,
how do you actually do that?
well, you have to petition the academies. You have to, petition, and some of that has been done, letting more voters in, letting more established uh, voters of many different cultures um, in, so that they can watch and they can nominate and put their 2, 3, 4 cents in. And that's how you, especially these award ceremonies, when you hear a certain show spoken of over and over and over again, then you'll hear, oh, I should have watched that. Oh, I think I'm going to go see that. Oh, that looks really good. But until Hentified or Vida, or any of these incredible other shows that are out there right now, keep getting the same attention as a Ted Lasso or The Crown, or until you keep hearing those names and those titles over and over and over and over again, it's not going to get the attention that they deserve.
Yeah, it's interesting that you point that out because you have seen more shows, whether it is families, African American families, or focusing on Asian culture as well as Hispanic cultures. But
Yeah.
those
No, we're from
shows,
Queens.
unfortunately,
No, I'm like,
yeah,
there's so many beautiful. Was it Rami, which is another one? I mean, there are just so many incredible, with beautiful work, telling beautiful stories, and they just have to get out there.
Right. And I actually wanted to ask you, what are some shows? Because maybe there are viewers right now wondering, what are you watching? What are
You know what?
some shows with a lot of Hispanic culture that's being represented, or where can I learn a little bit more about these people, right, or these actors?
Right.
Who are some of the role models today that you're looking at, as well as shows that I think think people should tune into?
Oh, right now I feel like I got this Ted Lasso fire, which I haven't seen a frame of, by the way. No, no, um, insult to Ted Lasso. I'm sure I keep hearing so much about it. Um, I have to say I'm not watching as much as I would like to. Um, but I'm so looking forward to the next season of Gentified. It's such a beautiful, beautiful show. Um, the entire cast is brilliant. I'm looking forward to watching Gloria, yes, Calderon's new show with Love. That's coming up soon. Um, Vida is fantastic. Yeah, I need to catch up. There's a lot more out there. I know there is, but I do need to catch up.
And in terms of role models, past and present in the industry, who are you looking up to?
Oh goodness. There's always Rita. There's always Rita Moreno. There's always Chita Rivera. There's um in my life, my goodness, there has always been Liz Torres, who, made me laugh so much. And she has my name. So she was one of the first Latinas I remember seeing on television going, is she mine? Is she one of mine? Um, yes, these are women who have accomplished great things. Uh, and when I think of the time that they came up in, what they have been able to, their legacy is really quite extraordinary. So I do stand on their shoulders. And there's so many
And
incredible actors out there right now. I mean, just
yeah.
I would love to work with.
So, what is advice that you would have given your younger self? Because as much as you don't realize how much you've been able to not just bring to your characters, but be that kind of change within an industry that is in some ways very stonewalled to people of color. What would you tell your younger self about keeping ahead, keeping your head up?
It gets better. I mean, and the language that I didn't have then, which I have now, is be the change. Be the change you want to see. That those are some of the most powerful words I have certainly heard, and so true. And you can't complain. You can't complain unless you're willing to, to put some skin in the game. And you got to put some skin in the game and be the change that you want to be. And trust that that your voice and your story is important and necessary.
Yeah. And you're advocating, and many are advocating for our community, Hispanic
Hmm.
community. But how can we even be allies to others who are trying to get more representation in the industry? Have you worked with either other actors, other groups who are trying to really uplift not just the Hispanic community, but all minority groups?
Yes, look, it's so important to me that we all have a seat at the table because we all are part of this incredible world, and every piece of the puzzle is important. And so how do you advocate for other cultures? You just do. You just mention and promote and support the Asian American community, the African American community, the Muslim community. It's just we are together in this. We are what makes this world continue to move forward and march forward, and be better and evolve. And if you don't include everyone, and and there I go, LGBTQA as well. It's just, you're, like I said before, you're just doing such a disservice to the generations that are coming behind us. They need to understand that we're just a small piece of the puzzle, a beautiful piece of the puzzle, a beautiful mosaic of a people, but it's just a couple of tiles in the wider and broader and more beautiful mosaic that is our world, that is our country, our cities, our communities. You don't have to go global, you just have to go down the street.
Yeah, well, before I let you go, I wanted to ask, what can fans of 911 Lone Star look forward to? What's coming up?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
I love how honest you are. That's good.
Yeah, I think we can expect more adventures. We can expect more life saving. I saved a couple of lives last week. There is expect an event ripped from real life that we're opening with. I can say that. I can say that much. But I'm looking forward to Tommy and what's next for her. She had a really, really hard season last season with the passing of her husband. And so we'll see where she is now, and how she's coping, and um, what that looks like, what Tommy being a single mother and superhero looks like.
And I got to ask, is this one of your favorite or one of the roles that you're most proudest of? If not, what are some of the ones that you've really loved doing, and why?
I do love Tommy. It is really the first time that a part has come to me so fully realized and fully fleshed out. I thanked him my near for that. He knew who I was going in, or in terms of what I need to feed myself, and to feed my creative soul. So he knew he had to come with somebody real. And so for that, I'm incredibly grateful. She has a full family life. This is a rich human being of a certain age, who, as I like him, takes no prisoners, and keeps moving forward. So I love that about Tommy. And that she is fully rooted in a world that's real. She's accessible. She's accessible in a way that maybe Jessica Pearson wasn't. Jessica Pearson from Suits and from Pearson
Yeah.
was aspirational in a way, but she was also just otherworldly and ridiculously fabulous. and and that was fun to play. And I miss her sometimes, but she's never far, and neither are her shoes. So, but yeah, I've enjoyed a really beautiful, varied career, and I look forward to more.
Well, we're all looking forward to see what you do next, both on the screen and, of course, behind it, to see how much more diversity and changes can happen within your industry. Like I mentioned, many industries undergoing this, and it is good. And I'm glad that we were able to talk to you about how you're trying to shine a light on this. So thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Of course. And I want to thank all of you for watching and tuning in. Of course, there are a number of other events and conversations we'll be having during Hispanic Heritage Month, including on Wednesday at 2:30, where my colleague Arelis Hernandez is going to be speaking with Eduardo Diaz. He is the director of the Smithsonian Latino Center, and we will have many more conversations in the next couple weeks. As always, tune in to WashingtonPostLive.com to see what is coming up. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Marianna Sotomayor, and have a good afternoon.